It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randykabc@gmail.com. Give me a follow on social media at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Well, what can drive this show is the things that I think are interesting and things that I want to talk about. Just as important are the things that you think are interesting that you want to talk about. And so when I get an email at randykabc@gmail.com with ideas for what we should be discussing on this show, you bet I listen. This one comes from Miguel, who wrote in just about a half hour ago. Hey, Randy, thanks for everything you do for Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley community with your radio show on KABC. If possible, could you do a show on the ongoing robberies that are occurring in Encino and the inability for the city of Los Angeles, both Mayor Karen Bass and Councilwoman Nithya Raman, to adequately address this issue? As you might know, more than 250 people attended the Encino Neighborhood Council meeting on Monday at the Encino Community Center to hear updates with LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman and the LA Police Department. Oh, I am well aware, and we're going to get into all of that. What's been going on in Encino? What is hopefully being done to address the ongoing burglaries and robberies that have been plaguing that neighborhood for quite some time? But I also want to open the phone lines early right now. If you live in Encino and you went to that meeting, give me a call. Tell me if you were satisfied with what you heard. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you want to theorize as to why Karen Bass and Nithya Raman didn't show up at that meeting, I'd love to hear from you. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. But most importantly, I know we have a lot of Encino residents that are listening to this show, and I know it can be quite frightening what is going on right now with all the robberies. Literally, there were 2 more home burglaries after that meeting last night. So the problem is not solved, and more patrols might help, but it's not going to change. I want to know, what are you doing to protect yourself with all this? What are you doing to harden your home? What are you doing to protect your family in the wake of nonstop burglaries and robberies in Encino? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You got an answer to me for any of those questions, you give us a call right now, 800-222-KABC. But first, let's go ahead and find out what happened at that Encino Neighborhood Council meeting that Nithya Raman was too busy to show up to. Karen Bass was too busy to show up to. But Nathan Hochman was there, and representatives from the LAPD were there to talk about the crime wave going on in Encino. Here's ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All new this morning, 2 break-ins overnight in Encino, just hours after neighbors gathered to address safety concerns in the area.
Yeah, Eyewitness News reporter David Gonzalez joins us live from Encino with what we know from police right now. David.
This was right after the meeting. 2 more. This is happening a lot in one specific neighborhood. And I hate to say that this can be one of those self-fulfilling prophecies where, well, the more you see that these things happen in Encino and nobody's getting caught or arrested, the more certain people realize, oh, this is the place to do my criming.
Hey, John, good morning. Yeah, people in this community feel targeted because of these break-ins. And right now, LAPD is investigating 2 separate incidents that took place in this community overnight. The first one taking place in the home that you see behind me. Check out this video. This is video.
Turns out one of the homes last night belonged to one of the housewives, but I watch a lot of garbage reality TV. I don't watch the housewives. I don't follow the housewives, so I don't really know who that is.
Check out this video. This is video of the scene as LAPD investigated an attempted break-in at the home on Havenhurst Avenue. There is limited information, but officers were called out around 10:30 last night. Initial reports state a family may have been home when two suspects made their way into the home through a garage but ran away shortly after. We are still waiting to confirm.
Apparently, those guys were the first people I've heard of in a while that were scared by an alarm.
We are still waiting to confirm those details with police. Police have confirmed there was a break-in at another home in the area just a few hours later. These incidents all come after more than 200 Encino residents packed the community center for a town hall last night with LAPD and LA County District Attorney. That town hall was held in the wake of the shocking murders of American Idol executive and her husband inside their Encino home. Their bodies were discovered last Monday.
By the way, I just have to point this out because I find this to be crass and tasteless and just so unbelievably heartless and rude. You know, for show purposes, I follow everybody. I follow every politician that's relevant in the state of California. So I follow all of our local electeds that I can. I follow Karen Bass. I follow Gavin Newsom. I follow all these people just to see exactly what they are saying. And a day after a neighborhood council town hall meeting based on the double homicide that happened to a couple in Encino just coming home after getting their groceries to find someone broke into their home, apparently found the gun that they had in there and used it against them. What does Karen Bass do? Oh, she posts a chart that says LA is on pace for the lowest total murders in 60 years. That is tasteless. That is heartless. And the fact that she didn't show up last night tells you what she really thinks of her constituents.
That town hall was held in the wake.
Don't know if she was actually invited, but still.
That town hall was held in the wake of the shocking murders of American Idol executive and her husband inside their Encino home. Their bodies were discovered last Monday. And this morning, LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman revealing new information into the murders. The suspect, Raymond Budorian, allegedly used the couple's own gun to kill them. The DA says he then called police and gave them his name, which helped track him down. Encino residents say crime is out of control and demand more protection.
Criminals keep offending, and they're back out on the streets offending again.
I mean, that's the California way.
Criminals keep offending.
And unfortunately, the majority of people, even in places like Encino, have supported politicians that want to handicap the police every chance they can, like Nithya Raman, someone who was ready to go to defund the police in 2020, someone who is a Democrat socialist aligned with the same people like Eunice Hernandez that are calling for the abolishment of police.
Criminals keep.
She won her reelection so handily in the primary, she did not need a runoff. She won more than 50% of the vote. Ethan Weaver, a neighborhood prosecutor, didn't stand a chance. So what exactly do we do here?
Criminals keep offending, and they're back out on the streets offending again. There's no consequence, and that's the problem. But law enforcement's hands are tied because they don't have enough services to do their job. So,
I mean, we are down 1,500 officers in the city of Los Angeles. And, you know, Karen Bass was doing all those press tours talking about how the riots weren't really a big deal because Los Angeles is 500 square miles. Well, think about that. LA is 500 square miles and we only have 8,500 officers. How many square miles is New York City? And they have 3 times the amount of officers.
So Mayor Karen Bass, we beg you to allow additional officers to protect your citizens.
LAPD says they've stepped up patrols in these neighborhoods, but add the department faces challenges with staffing. Hochman promises they are going after criminals.
And, you know, I'm glad we have Hochman. I'm glad that we don't have George Gascon. But the district attorney can only do something when a case is brought to him. And this is an unfortunate reality. It's one of the most stark things that George Gascon said when he was trying to defend his job is that 85% of burglary suspects in Los Angeles are not caught. 85%. If you tell a certain portion of the population that they can commit a crime and 85% of the time they're not going to get caught, they're not going to get arrested, they're just going to go ahead and do it. It's like with the lack of enforcement we're seeing in the Bay Area with people getting their registration tags. If there's no enforcement, people aren't going to pay the $300, $400, $500, $600.
And this time last year, there were at least 10 burglaries in the month of July in the Valley right now. But a majority of those incidents did take place in the city of Encino.
Okay, this isn't the most important thing to discuss today, but it's just a friendly reminder. Encino is not a city. Encino is a neighborhood in Los Angeles, just south of where I'm broadcasting from right now. Panorama City is not a city. That is a neighborhood in Los Angeles. If you're in the San Fernando Valley, unless you are in the city of San Fernando, or the city of Calabasas, or the city of Burbank, or Glendale, you're in the city of LA. Shouldn't be having to tell this to a news reporter, but sometimes we all get confused. Encino, not a city. Part of LA. Part of the problem. You don't hear about these crime waves in Burbank, now do you?
Reporting live in Encino, David Gonzalez, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Now, not only were there 2 more of those burglaries last night, but again, the shocking news that was learned in that town hall was that this monster that broke into this couple's home used their own firearm against them in this double homicide. Then apparently he called the police to let his name out there, and that's how he was arrested. It's a wild story. Let's get more information on what's been going on here. Here's another report from ABC 7.
And more breaking news. We're learning disturbing new details about the murder of an American Idol music supervisor and her husband, shot dead inside their Encino home. Their bodies discovered 1 week ago tonight. Reporter Leanne Suter attending a packed neighborhood safety meeting in Encino tonight where DA Nathan Hochman revealed that new information. Leanne.
Mark, shocking details indeed. The DA telling the crowd gathered tonight that the accused killer in that case used his cell phone to call police after the incident.
So if you're wondering why this guy got caught, it's because he turned himself in practically. I don't know why. Don't know what's going on here. And there's a whole thing with this guy's criminal history we'll get into too, which is a whole other problem that we're going on with right now.
Even giving them his name, and that is ultimately how they were able to track him down. The DA also saying that the victims were killed with their own weapon in their home. All of that information coming out tonight as residents here gathered together demanding more patrols for added safety here in Encino.
Let's go. We're here. What do we do?
Anger and frustration as more than 200 residents packed the Encino Community Center demanding answers.
The crime is out of control. You don't even feel safe going to sleep in your own home. You can have security cameras, you can have alarms, you can have dogs, you can have lasers, you can have firearms.
I don't know about the lasers. It is got to be, especially for the amount of money you pay to be in a place like Encino, to hear these stories happening. And this has been going on for months. I'd say it's been going on for about a year, where there's been so much targeting, whether it's the professional burglary tourism rings that are coming out of Chile or the amateur burglars, people seeing that it's on the news. Encino is ripe for the picking. And when's the last time you saw Karen Bass or Nithya Raman talk about this?
You can have firearms. They just keep coming.
The LAPD and district attorney answering questions from frightened residents following the murders of American Idol music supervisor Robin Kay and her husband Thomas DeLuca inside their home by a 22-year-old suspect now under arrest.
We're having phenomenal numbers on crime reduction.
Yeah, you can't lead with that. Nobody's going to buy it.
That being said, when 2 wonderful people end up dead in their own home, those crime statistics fall kind of flat.
Yeah, they don't really mean a damn thing. Because what's going on right now in Encino shows a complete failure.
The numbers do little to calm residents' fears as they say their area is being targeted. Adding to the challenge, a police department hit hard, down 1,300 officers. The sheriff's department down 1,200 deputies. The district attorney promising criminals will be held responsible.
For 4 years, when criminals were not being held accountable, they got used to it. They got used to a regime where you get arrested in the morning and out by the afternoon if you ever got arrested at all. We're changing that.
A little bit relieved, but yet frustrated. Our community, the whole Los Angeles County is at peril and at risk.
Can't wait for the world to come here, huh?
Yes, certainly a lot of concern and a lot of fear here in this community. Now, the LAPD says that it has stepped up patrols throughout the night here in Encino as they try to make sure that this community does indeed feel safe. Live in Encino, Leanne Suter, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Leanne, thank you.
And it's not only the fact that these things are still happening. You had the 2 extra burglaries last night on top of this neighborhood council meeting to address that. And apparently a lot of those people were scared off, but still, these things keep happening. On top of all that, we also found out, thanks to a report from NBC4, that turns out the guy who committed this double homicide in Encino had a record and was cleared of all charges very recently for a very stupid reason. Here's NBC4.
Community meeting drawing a standing room only crowd. Last week, American Idol executive Robin Kay and her husband were found dead inside their home. NBC4's Tracy Leon was at that meeting tonight, and she joins us live with what unfolded. Tracy.
By the way, this is why I highly recommend, if you consume the news the way that I do, which is I don't have like regular television. I subscribe to all of our local news channels, and I think they all do a really good job. But it's almost interesting when you listen to every station covering the same story, and this is a huge story, you get a little different angle from each one, and you get a little nugget that you might not have heard in the other one. And the angle that NBC4 went on this one is, turns out this guy's got a record.
Yeah, Carolyn, about 300 people attended tonight's meeting with people expressing their fears that they could be the next victims after their neighbors were allegedly murdered by a dangerous man who was let out of jail after his charges were dismissed.
So let's go. We're here. What do we do?
Frustrated Encino residents packed the community center Monday night, pleading for answers and demanding action by the LAPD and the LA County DA, Nathan Hochman.
The neighborhood is really upset and scared and nervous about what happened and why was this person arrested several times before.
Several times.
And then let out again to commit this awful crime.
The Encino Neighborhood Council inviting the community to discuss their safety concerns following the July 10th shooting deaths of American Idol music supervisor Robin Kay and her husband Thomas DeLuca, both 70. According to police, 22-year-old Raymond Budarian allegedly shot the couple when they returned from grocery shopping while he was burglarizing their home.
Apparently, he found their gun. Now, I don't know why that gun wasn't in a gun safe. I don't know. Doesn't make it right, but just so awful.
NBC4 investigates uncovered court records that show Budarian was jailed last year on suspicion of threat, weapons, and battery charges.
Those all seem pretty serious. And this is recent. So what happened?
In December, a judge dismissed the case against Budarian after a mental health evaluation was completed. Many neighbors disturbed he was out of jail after the charges were dismissed.
It is not fair. It is not right. But that is the laws we have in place now. Those laws have to change. Now I'm going to help lead an effort over the next year or whatever amount of time it takes.
Hochman echoing neighbors' concerns, vowing to fight for change. And the LAPD saying they're adding patrols in Encino during the hours of darkness from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and working to add flyovers with their helicopters.
How about some drones? Can we get the drones going up around those hills?
Well, the LAPD says there's been a slight decrease in burglaries this year, 188 compared to 196.
That's a rounding error. Don't you dare say crime is down.
During the same period last year, safety is their top priority. And with staffing shortages, they're also relying on the community for their support.
This is not something we take lightly, even if we can sit here and talk about decreases in crime.
And of course, the city totally cares about this. And that's why the city council representative wasn't there. And that's why the mayor wasn't there.
The organizers of tonight's meeting tell me they were pleased with the turnout and they will be planning more safety meetings. The next one will be here at the same community center on August 11th. Reporting live in Encino, Tracy Leong, NBC4 News.
800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. Were you at that meeting in Encino? Tell me what went on down there, what that was like. And if you're in Encino and you're being plagued by all these robberies and burglaries going on for the last year, what are you doing to keep your family safe? What are you doing to harden your home? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You want to react to all the criming that's going on in the neighborhood of Encino? Give us a call, 800-222-KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randykabc@gmail.com. You can give me a follow on social media at Randy Wang Radio and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Last night, there was a town hall in Encino hosted by the Encino Neighborhood Council, LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, and the LAPD responding to the wave of burglaries and robberies, one that led to a double homicide last week in the hills of Encino. If you happen to be at that meeting, give me a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. And if you have a theory as to why Karen Bass and Nithya Raman didn't show up at that meeting, give me a call, 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Jan in Calabasas. Jan, hello.
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Hello? Okay, good. First of all, I just want to tell you, love the show and you and John in the middle of the day. And I've told many people they should listen because they need to hear what's going on in the state. My comment was, of course, these people are very upset, understandably, and I'm not taking anything away from them. But I guarantee you that a huge majority of them, if you were able to look at their ballots, they voted for all the policies and all the people that have created all these problems. And the fear for me is that they're just going to keep voting the same way and the same people in. And I hope they're listening because they need to educate themselves on who they're voting for. And the reason Karen Bass and Nithya Raman didn't show up, because they don't care. And they would probably be fine with all this going on in the Valley because it's white privilege or some BS. That's what I have to say.
Well, I think you make some really strong points, and thank you not only for listening and calling in, but we love when we hear people that are telling their friends to listen. We really appreciate that, Jan. Thank you so much for the call. I think she makes a really strong point. One, the mayor of Los Angeles doesn't give a crap about the Valley. The Valley should have become its own city a very, very, very long time ago. We pay a lot of money in taxes, but what do we see for it? I have lived in the San Fernando Valley for a very, very, very long time. I have to pay for a lot of crap that's in places that have too much traffic for me to get to enjoy. But very recently, you can go back to 2022, and that race should have been closer than it was, but it wasn't. Karen Bass beat Rick Caruso, even though he spent $100 million by 20 points. People saw what she was selling, and they said, yes, we want this. Now, if Rick ran again, would that be different now that we know what 4 years of Karen Bass looks like? I don't necessarily know. And if it's not going to be Rick, I don't know who else is even thinking of running because it's already the middle of summer here. What are we waiting for? But on top of that, specifically this district, the Encino and Sherman Oaks area, they got Nithya Raman originally not by choice. Nithya Raman, through redistricting, through what happened with Kevin De Leon and Gil Cedillo and Nuri Martinez in their little scheme to try to make sure that Nithya wouldn't get reelected because they didn't like her, tried to redistrict her into the suburbs. And Nithya was all about the renters, not the homeowners. Nithya was all about the homeless, not the people with homes. And they still had 2 years to understand what exactly was going on there. Because you know what? As bad as representation has been in Encino for a very, 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 very long time, Nithya is about as bad as it gets. And there was an opportunity just last year to do something about it. And it was probably the city council race that got more coverage than any other city council race in last year's election, outside of Kevin De Leon, but we knew he wasn't going to win that one. But the town halls, we played a lot of the sound of the debates that were played between Nithya Raman, who did not care about crime victims, did not care about crime, and you could very easily show she did not care about her constituents. She only cared about her ideology because I went to school to be a city planner, so I know better than you and about everything. And Ethan Weaver was a common sense guy who was a neighborhood prosecutor. They were both running as Democrats, but again, that doesn't matter in the city of Los Angeles. She won outright in the primary. And the way it works here is if you win more than 50% in the primary in our top 2 system, there is no runoff. Now, part of the problem here was that the vote was split. There was a third person that ran, and I believe he was he from the Encino Neighborhood Council or was he from the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council? But there was a third guy that ran. They got no traction whatsoever, but he peeled off votes from Weaver. Would all of this have happened if Ethan Weaver was in office? It's possible, but it's also possible that you would have had somebody that would have taken this seriously. Elections do matter, and elections do have consequences. And hopefully, if the residents are so animated that they're going to pack a town hall on a Monday night to voice their concerns about crime, they'll have the same animation to do something about their local elected representation when the time comes for another election, if they're given an opportunity. I mean, Nithya is not up again for re-election until 2028. Karen Bass is up next year. But again, who exactly is running against her? It'd be great to announce that sooner rather than later, because it's starting to feel like an aura of hopelessness that this is what we're stuck with. It's not going to get any better. The World Cup's going to be here. The Super Bowl's going to be here. And the Olympics are going to be here. And it is going to be a gigantic embarrassment. You know, there's going to be several Olympic events that are going to be hosted in the San Fernando Valley, just north of Encino, in the Lake Balboa area at Balboa Park, a park that's full of homeless people that start fires in the Sepulveda Basin. Also ducks. And you got to imagine that some of the athletes, some of the families, some of the people that are attending the events that are specifically in the valley, whether it be the 3-on-3 basketball or the skateboarding or whatever they're putting up out there, they might want to lodge in a place like Encino. Maybe they want to do an Airbnb. Maybe they want to go to one of the hotels on Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks. And I don't see this situation with this rise in robberies and burglaries getting any better anytime soon. It's not like LAPD staffing is magically going to get any better. It's only getting worse, and the budget cuts have just cut academy classes. So I'm not sure that's really going to help. And ultimately, regardless of how many members of the police we have, if the local electeds give out the aura of, we don't want you to go after certain people, we don't want you to enforce crime heavily, we're going to see more of this. And I don't really know what we do about it. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. You know, speaking of Nathan Hochman, he had a press conference just a few hours ago on the other monstrous thing that happened over the weekend. That, of course, being the guy that tried to mow down people in front of the nightclub in East Hollywood. Nathan Hochman announced that the LA County District Attorney's Office is charging that jackass with 37 counts of attempted murder and going for a life sentence. That would not have happened if George Gascon was still there, And that is why elections matter. Hey, look at this, everybody. 790 KABC welcomes Blade Runner live at the Dolby Theater on January 21st, 2026. Tickets on sale Friday at Ticketmaster.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Nederlander Concerts. Good luck dialing. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Definitely lost a legend today, if there ever was one. Ozzy Osbourne passing away at the age of 76. I considered myself a fan of the Ozman for many, many, many years. Although I was born in the 80s, which means that I probably should have been into music in high school that was late 90s and early 2000s. My friends that I was friends with in high school got me into heavy metal, and it started with AC/DC and Van Halen and Kiss, and eventually, I started discovering, I would get the best of CDs, because this is before iTunes and before iPods. I would take my little tiny paycheck from Magic Mountain every week, and I would go to Circuit City, and I would buy 2 CDs. And one of the CDs that I bought was the best of Ozzy Osbourne from his solo career. And I listened to that album over and over and over again. It became in my regular playlist when I originally got my Generation 1 iPod that had 1,000 songs in my pocket. Of those 1,000 songs, there were quite a few Ozzy Osbourne classics in there. No More Tears is a favorite. Mama, I'm Coming Home is a great song. Bark at the Moon is wonderful. And it's interesting. I think a lot of his songs are incredible, but I do have this weird pet peeve with what I just consider to be overplayed songs. And so we did a tribute on the John Phillips Show today where we bumped in with Ozzy Osbourne music for the entire show. And we took requests from listeners, and I played some Black Sabbath, played some Ozzy solo stuff. And there's a lot of great material there. Shot in the Dark. That used to be, I literally, one of my first jobs in radio, working at the FM talk station, I would make bumper music. Like, we, for some reason, wouldn't just play the songs. We had to make a loop so people could talk over it, whatever. I would use a ton of Ozzy tracks over the mountain. But Shot in the Dark, I think, is a fantastic song to bump into a radio show with, especially if you're talking about something somewhat serious because it's a little darker. That all being said, and I know it's probably his most well-known song from his solo career. I mean, most well-known song from his overall career. Probably Iron Man, maybe War Pigs, maybe even Paranoid. That live version of Paranoid with Randy Rhoads, that's legendary. But Crazy Train is so overplayed, and it's only going to be more overplayed now. It's just one of those songs that I feel I have heard enough times. And there's a much bigger, better body of work out there. So if you are getting into Ozzy, you want to learn about Ozzy's music, look past Crazy Train. It's a good song. I've just heard it enough times. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. If you ever miss an episode of the News Blitz with Randy Wang, search for the News Blitz wherever you get your podcast or go to kabc.com/newsblitz. It's that simple. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC.